The essence of ICT, the world over, cannot be overemphasized. It's no doubt that the most important device in the 21st century is a computer, a machine that is fast changing the world. A few years ago, owning a computer was luxury, but that has changed with time. Owning a computer is now a necessity. Think of it from the desk of the president to the desk of the engineer building the next flyover or the doctor diagnosing the next patient. ICT is employed. In fact, ICT plays a key role in every major decision process everywhere globally. Assistant Professor at the Computer Science Department of the Ashesi University, Dr. Ayoko Kosa, says computers will continue to change our world.
Almost every field of human endeavor right now uses technology in some way or can benefit from the use of technology, from agriculture to medicine to education. And so to the extent that we as a nation can get to the point where we're able to use technology and actually create technology that assists in the solution of some of the challenges we face on a day-to-day basis, I think to that extent will we actually develop.
But how is Ghana, a nation that hopes to catch up with the rest of the world in this IT age, handling the teaching of this very important subject to her next generation?
What is on the board? Yes.
Parts of a computer.
Clap for him. That's all parts of a computer. I hope you all know what a computer is. Yes. Some people have seen it before.
Children across the country, irrespective of their background, whether in the village or city, are required to write an ICT exams at the Basic Education Certificate Examinations. This allows them entry into the senior high schools in Ghana.
Tell me what you know about, the internet.
Please, I don't know anything about internet.
You don't know anything about the internet? You haven't heard of it?
I've heard of it.
But you don't know what it does?
Yes.
Okay. What about the system unit of a computer? Do you know the function of the system unit? Any function of the system unit?
Please, no.
Do you know the system unit of a computer?
No.
Do you know the monitor of a computer?
No idea.
Do you know anything at all about a computer?
I know, but I forget.
In the following piece, I will be taking you to classrooms in rural Ghana to understand how teachers manage to teach ICT without computers, the very tool required to teach the subjects. My first port of call is Bui Akpalamafu, a small community in the Hohoi district of the Volta region. Many of the buildings here are made of mud with rusty roofs. I find many homes here empty during the day, but I'm told majority of the people are on their farms. Unlike the past, where they would allow their kids to follow them to farm, the people here are fully aware of the benefits of education and are keeping their kids in school.
I pledge myself to say of Ghana. It's all my strength, all my heart. I promise to the highest, our lady of us, to our brothers, to our fathers, and I pledge myself all things, to our good and fair and good of Ghana, so I be God.
This is the Bui Akpalamafu MA Basic School, and as I found out, teaching ICT here and other rural parts of the country is not only difficult but a mountainous task.
I'm a computer, I body. I can't monitor that.
The one you see things on it.
Okay, The ones that we see things on it, the ones that look like a TV. Okay, like a TV, the screen that looks like a TV. That is what we call the monitor. Okay, Jimmy, I don't know quality. When you type, that is what the monitor.
This is a typical ICT class in rural Ghana. The teacher has no computer to teach with, and sadly, many of the pupils have never seen a computer before. The best the teacher can do is to draw a computer on the board for the pupils to appreciate the object they are being taught. It is a painstaking exercise, not just for the teacher, but for the pupils who are struggling to memorize not only how a computer works, but how it looks like.
Can you mention some parts of the computer?
So this is a typical ICT class with about 30 pupils in here. And it's interesting to note that when the teacher asked them how many of them had seen a computer before, I saw only 4 hands out of the over 30 pupils in this class. This highlights the peak of the problem of teaching ICT without computers in deprived areas.
When we want to select a test,
in this same school, an ICT teacher, Ruth Adiba, is having a class with students in JHS 2. These students will be writing the basic education certificate examinations next year. I discover the students here are more fortunate than their juniors I met earlier, who said they had never seen a computer before.
So do the highlighting.
In this class, they have all seen and used computers with internet before, but that was just 3 weeks before my visit, and it came at a high cost. The students were transported to another town to use computers. Headmaster of the Gui Aklamafu MA Basic School, Walter Anku, explains why this was done. How does your school manage to teach ICT without computers?
The teachers teach it in the abstract way. We just have the textbooks, so they teach it like that. So it was until recently that the ICT teacher had to transport the children from this school to a nearby the senior high school, a technical school known as Alavanyo EP Technical Vocational Training Institute. They have the facilities over there. So she had to transport the children. The children had to contribute money to fuel the vehicle for the school, to come and take them to the school so that they can have a feel of the machines at the lab over there. So that is how basically we handle the teaching of ICT in the school.
That's interesting. Had any of these children seen computers or used computers before?
Well, apart from these mobile phones, I don't think the children have ever had a feel of the laptop or desktop computers. I think they are just conversant with these mobile phones which they use.
How does lack of computers in your school impact on the academic performance of the pupils in ICT?
Yeah, I think that was what motivated her or what moved her to send the children to the institute that I mentioned earlier on, because she has seen that teaching the subject in the abstract form will not help the children in the final analysis or in the final what they're going for the final exam at the BCE level. So I think this is what has moved her to take this step, to send the children to a place where the facilities are available.
Back in the classroom, the ICT teacher is having a lesson titled Selecting a Text from a Word Document. Since the school has no computer, the laptop the teacher uses for demonstration is a borrowed one from a colleague.
So when we want to select a test, what we will do is to place the cursor, as our friend told us, to place the cursor at the beginning of what? The test, okay? And then you click.
Contrary to what the ICT syllabus for junior high school proposes, the students are being taught to memorize how a computer works instead of using the computers to practice what is being taught.
Let me see by hand those who have ever heard of email.
As I tried finding out a few basic things the students knew about a computer, the confusion in the minds of many of them was obvious. What part of the computer am I touching?
Screen.
Can you say that again?
Screen.
What do we use it for? Or what is the function of it? What's your name?
David.
David, what part of the computer am I touching now?
Monitor.
What is the function of the monitor?
To see things on it.
What is this?
Mouse.
Mouse. What do we use a mouse for?
For pointing at things.
So the arrow you see on the computer, how do we call it?
Mouse. No, the cursor.
Good, clap for him. What is this?
Mouse.
Mouse.
Yes.
Okay. What do we use it for?
Use it to click.
Click. Can you click for me to see? Yeah. Click. Okay. Can you mention one part of a computer?
The monitor.
The monitor. Have you heard of www?
No.
Okay. You've heard of the internet, right?
Yes.
What do we use the internet for?
Use it to see videos.
I see. My friend, what's your name?
Savi Joshua.
Joshua, what is this?
Keyboard.
Okay, and what is this?
A mouse.
What do you use a mouse for?
We use it for moving an items.
Okay. Have you heard of www? What's your name?
Patrick.
Patrick, have you heard of www?
Mouse.
Speak, I'm listening.
Mouse.
Mouse. www is mouse. Okay. Let's go to Adam. I'm coming to you. You've heard of www?
Yes, sir.
What does it stand for?
WW stand for Whole Wide Word. Whole Wide Word.
Okay. And what does it do?
www is it helps us to learn across the country and within the country.
How do you learn without computers? And is it difficult?
It's difficult because some practicals, if you don't use computer, you can't understand what they are teaching. And for that matter, it's difficult, but our ICT madam tries anytime she's around to teach, and she always finds some laptops even from the town to teach us.
When we get computers, we can fast track our work. Our practicals and our learning will go on and prove it. I think that's all.
ICT teacher Ruth Adiba says teaching ICT in a deprived area like this without computers is back-breaking.
It makes lesson very slow, and then you have to talk very much for them to understand. And we have only 2 laptops which belongs to some teachers, so I have to take it and then for to use it to teach them so that they can have a feel of it and see how the topics go, and how using the laptop So apart from that, when you talk, they don't get, you only teach in abstract, they don't get they don't understand it, and they don't get the meaning of what you are teaching them. So it makes lesson very difficult.
And as computer science professor at Ashesi University, Dr. Ayoko Kosa puts it, it is better to stop teaching ICT if schools will continue to use crude methods of teaching.
I was once passing a school and I overheard a conversation between a teacher and the students in the class. And the teacher asked a question. She said, how many parts does a computer have? And I, who am a computer science lecturer, I was thinking to myself, I said, I wonder what the answer to that question is, you know, because it was the kind of question that really didn't make any sense. You know, how are you classifying the parts of a computer? Are you talking about the monitor and the keyboard? Are you talking about the CPU? I could not answer that question. And I realized that teaching the students via rote learning to memorize how many parts a computer has is absolutely useless, right? So if that's how we're teaching ICT, it's better not to have ICT at all. But if what we're doing is giving students the opportunity to become familiar with technology, to be able to use technology powerfully, and to actually get a sense of what we call computational thinking, to understand how, basically how to solve problems in a computational way, which is what computers are used for, that I think is very valuable. And I think we're quite far from doing that, at least in our regular public schools.
Traveling to other remote areas, I uncovered a problem is even worse in other schools. I am at Dr. Ahmedie Basic School, which is located in the Southern district of the Volta region. It is a school with a student population of about 300. This school has only one computer for the 300 pupils. That single computer was donated by their MP in 2010. But the lack of computers, though a big issue, remains the least of their problems, as some classes are held under a shed with a thatched roof.
The ICT syllabus for junior high schools emphasizes the fact that the teaching and learning of this subject must be more practical than theoretical. But after visiting many rural schools like this one thing is clear. Most of these schools concentrate on theory, making it difficult, if not impossible, for the pupils to understand what is being taught. But even more worrying is the fact that these kids here, many of them have never used a computer before, but they will be required to sit for the BEC at some point in time, with others in cities who have constant access to computers.
What again do you see? My document. You see my document. What again will you see? Celestine. You see recycling bin.
If you've seen a computer, put your hands up. Okay, put your hands down. How many of you have used a computer before? Only one person. The rest of you have not used a computer before. I see. Would you like to use one?
Yes, sir.
David, what do we use the internet for?
We use for showing something.
Something. What thing is that?
Picture.
Picture. And what else?
Fine.
Okay. Mention one use of a computer.
Say, click the mouse.
Sorry?
Click the mouse.
One use of a computer.
Say, you use the computer to click anything.
To click anything?
Yes.
What about you?
We use computer to see information.
Upon entering the junior high school 2 class, I realize a flaw in the uncompleted classroom block is no different from the dusty surroundings of the school compound.
What do we use emails for?
Email is provided by the internet.
But what do we use it for? Okay. You seem to have forgotten. But tell me, www, what does it stand for?
World Wide Web.
What does it do?
We use it to browse the internet.
Okay.
Without computers, when our teachers finish teaching us, we have to go and do practical. But we don't have computers, so we don't know how the computers are being used.
The method of teaching ICT here without computers is already having a telling effect on the students who sit for the Basic Education Certificate exams, BEC. In 2015, 80% of the candidates this school presented for the Basic Education Certificate exams, BEC, failed in ICT. The remaining 20% managed to score between grades 7 and 8 in the subject, which are almost equivalent to failing. The ICT teacher here, Xavier Cyril, tells me he feels terrible about this state of affairs.
Last year, 8 registers for 8, and the ICT is only 2. But the grade it was 7-8. In the grade it was 7-8.
The two who passed.
And the 2 who passed.
And
So
the
look
rest
at the.
pass at all.
They did not pass at all.
Wow, that is serious.
It's a serious problem here.
The best.
The best 7-8.
7 and 8.
Yes.
Wow. How did that make you feel as an ICT teacher, knowing that you've spent 3 years preparing them for a subject and even your best ends up getting 7 and 8?
I feel very bad because all that I have taught them, I believe they are going to pass. But due to the lack of the materials, and then the outcome was very bad.
I traveled further to the KJB district in the northern part of the Volta region, where just like the last school, though they need computers, that is the least of their worries. The reason is simple. Each day any of these kids come to school, they are only lucky to go home alive. Their school building is a death trap, which can come tumbling down on them any day. There are deep cracks in the structure built with mud. The roof is rusty and some windows haven't taken off. Not even their chalkboard has been spared by the cracks. Teachers here say they continue to use this weak building because their junior high school block got burnt over a year ago, and all attempts to get it reconstructed have proven unsuccessful. But the children are undaunted by this. They show up every morning hoping to make the best out of this. Their school, the Ahamasuk Junior High, benefited from government's 1 laptop per child program. They received 10 RLG laptops. However, only 1 out of the 10 laptops they have is working. This is a final year class, and these students will be writing the BEC, the final exams that will help them proceed to senior high school next year. Considering the environment these kids are learning in, it's not surprising many of them find it difficult applying what they are taught. After the class on word processing ended, I gave the most brilliant student in the class a task I thought would be easy to accomplish. With a lot of difficulty, after 10 minutes, she managed to type, "I live at Ahamasu." I visit a different school, this time round a private one at Tefle, a town close to Sogakofe in the Volta region, where I give the same task of typing where you live to a student here. This student finishes typing where he lives in less than 2 minutes. Covenant Preparatory School is a private school in this area. Not every student here has access to a computer, but clearly the appreciation of ICT is better due to a few resources they have.
Normally we use projector and a laptop to project what the lessons to the people for them to see on the board. But one of the challenges that we have is most of them don't have machines or computers at various houses. So they find it very difficult to practice what is being taught in a classroom. So that has been one of the major challenges in the department.
Computer science professor at Ashesi University, Dr. Ayokokosa, says you can't teach computers without computers and proposes the use of mobile phones in deprived areas where government cannot provide personal computers.
I think ICT at the basic level is very important, right? But there are always creative ways of solving problems. Desktop computers or laptops are not the only forms of ICT, right? Mobile phones are examples of information and communication technologies, right? And mobile phones are pervasive throughout our community, right? Our country, actually. And so if we are in a deprived area where we don't have computers, right, can we think of creative ways to use mobile phones to teach students the concepts of computing and the concepts of information and communication technologies? And I think that is very, very doable. A mobile phone has a little computer in it, right? It has a screen, it has a keyboard, right? So we can teach students principles of how computers work. We can help them understand that computers come in many different forms, and the one that is in a mobile phone is an example of a computer. And then we can show them examples of other kinds of computers that are there. And then we can teach them how that little computer in the mobile phone is actually able to do what it's supposed to do. We can teach them those principles of computing.
Dr. Ayokokosa adds that Ghana must move away from teaching students how to memorize how a computer works to teaching them how to solve problems with it.
How we are teaching people to think, right? And one way we don't want to teach people to think is to use rote learning, to memorize things, and least of all, memorize things about something they have never seen before, right? We want them to be able to solve problems. We want them to be able to analyze problems. And then once they can do that, the tools that we have in terms of computers and other ICTs become more valuable because they already know how to think.
All attempts to get the Education Ministry and the Ghana Education Service to respond to the issues raised in this piece were unsuccessful. For Hotline, my name is Felix Akoyam.